Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is and whatever part of the world you're at right now. Welcome back to my channel, ASKnowlin. Today, we're gonna do a short lesson on finding the slope given the equation of a line, okay? So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, one of the key things that you need to know about finding the slope from an equation of a line, we need to know the slope-intercept form, okay? So I'm gonna write that out real quick. Slope-intercept form of a line. And if you're watching this, you may have already heard of the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope. That's where you get slope from. And then the b represents the y-intercept, okay? Now, as long as the equation is written in slope-intercept form, we can identify the slope part of the equation right away, okay? So let's take a look at one. I'm gonna rewrite the slope-intercept form of the line. Let me use a different color. So I'm gonna put y equals mx plus b. Now everything, you just line them up. And another way to identify the slope is always next to the x, okay? Whatever the x term is, the coefficient of the x is the slope. So as we look here, we know that m represents our slope and is next to x. Well, our slope for this equation is a fraction. It's -5/2. So for number one, slope is equal to -5 divided by 2. All right, let's take a look at number two. Once again, I'm gonna write y equals mx plus b. We know that the slope is the coefficient of the x term, and in this equation, the coefficient of the x term is -4/3. So slope is equal to -4/3. All right, let's take a look at number three. Number three, it may be hard to tell right away, but the coefficient of the x is a -1. So if we write y equals mx plus b, we can see right away that our slope, once again, is the coefficient of x, which is, in this case, is going to be -1. So we write slope is equal to -1. Or we could write it as a fraction, -1 divided by 1. All right, moving on to number four. Number four, once again, let's just go ahead and write out the slope-intercept form of a line, y equals mx plus b. And let's identify the slope. Remember, we want the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is -4. So this time, slope is equal to -4. Or we could say -4/1. All right, now, as we take a look at the last two, 5 and 6, you should notice that neither one of these equations is written in slope-intercept form, okay? They're actually written in what we call standard form. But we need to rewrite it. If we want to identify our slope properly, we need to rewrite it in slope-intercept form so we can identify the slope. So let's go ahead and do that. First, I want to put my coefficient of 1 or -1 in front of the y. And now we want to just go ahead and solve this equation. So first thing we want to do is move the 2x away from the -1y. When we do that, the 2x's cancel out. Then we have -1y equals 1 minus 2x. The last step here, divide everybody by -1. And our final answer is going to be y equals 1 divided by -1 is -1. -2 divided by -1 is positive, and 2 divided by 1 is 2, so this would just be positive 2x. Now it's basically in slope-intercept form. And if we need to, we can rewrite it to say y equals positive 2x minus 1, okay? Now, either way, remember that when we write it in slope-intercept form, that the slope is the coefficient of x. So in this case, the coefficient of x is positive 2. It doesn't matter how we write it. We can see that our slope for number 5 is equal to positive 2. Final answer. Now let's take a look at number 6, and that will complete our video for the day. So once again, for number 6, let's go ahead and add the coefficient of 1 for the positive x. And now we want to move that x term by subtracting it because it's positive. And when we do that, we end up with 2y equals negative 8 minus 1x. And then our last step is to divide everybody by positive 2. When we're finished with that, we get y equals, now, negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Negative 1 divided by 2 is negative 1/2, and then we keep the x. Now, we know we can rewrite it if we want to put the x term in front. We just have to keep all the signs the same. So the x term is negative. It's negative 1/2 x. And that constant, that 4 is also negative. So we have to write it as negative 4. Now, when we take a look at our slope-intercept form of our line, once again, the slope is the coefficient of x. So, as we take a look here, we know that our coefficient of x is negative 1/2, okay? So slope here, m equals negative 1/2. All right, and that is how you find the slope from an equation.